All right, guys, we're at the Keeping It Real Since podcast, and come walk with me while I talk about what we're about to embark on this journey with Johnathan Hernandez. As you can tell, I'm in his ward. We're going to talk about a plethora of things, specifically on Santa Ana. We're excited to drop this one finally after a little hiatus. So you guys get your popcorn, get all that stuff ready, because this one's going to be one of them. Like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to do that. And remember to follow your dreams. Never stop. Don't stop believing. All right, let's get into the pod.
Alrighty, guys, welcome to another episode of the Keeping It Real Since podcast. Today we got Councilman Johnathan Hernandez representing Ward 5 in Santa Ana.
Well, thank you both for having me here today. My name is Johnathan Hernandez. I'm a product of Santa Ana. I was born and raised in this community.
Yes,
but my family story actually starts in Jalisco. We're originally from Jalisco, my mom's side of the family, the Prieto family, the Lopez family, and my dad's side of the family.
Lopez.
Yeah,
Fellow Lopez, huh?
Fellow
Yeah,
Lopez,
yeah, let's go.
But my dad's side of the family, we actually started in Chavez Ravine, what is now known as the Dodger Stadium. My father's side of the family was in the LA community. When the Dodger Stadium was built, they migrated over to Santa Ana, Orange County, Artesia Pilar. And ever since then, you know, I was born and raised in that community. I went to Santa Ana Unified Schools, Fremont, Spurgeon. I was a kid, like most kids, you know, you learn through mistakes. I went from Spurgeon to Willard, and then Santa Ana High School. So I'm a product of Santa Ana schools. I'm a proud father to my daughter, Ebony. She's 14 years old, Ebony Maya. She's an artist herself. She last year participated in creating her first mural at El Salvador Park, mentored by Marina Aguilera, La Artista. And in 2020, I ran for office after seeing George Floyd be murdered by Derek Chauvin. I ran for office against a sheriff named Juan Villegas in 2020. I was 27 at the time when I ran. We were, of course, experiencing COVID, but I won with a landslide of the vote in 2020. And at the time, it was a very difficult time for the city, for the country. We were experiencing a pandemic. We were also experiencing racial uprising, you know, black and brown people coming together to demand justice. And so I won. And since I've won, I have helped, move our city forward. And we have another election here in front of us, and it's an opportunity for us to unite, you know, more people that maybe otherwise have never used their voice, never voted, never got involved in their city. Exactly. These are those opportunities to remind them, you know, the city's yours. Take it. Yeah,
exactly, because you're from this community and you're representing it now. And you know, I wanted to go back into the beginning. How can you talk about your upbringing and how that kind of push you into what the role you're but the role you're in now, council member, and what motivated you to get that from your childhood?
Man, it's a great question. I mean, the best way to answer it is to be honest. I was raised in Artesia Pilar, in a rather broken household. Like most kids who lived in Artesia Pilar, we were kind of raising each other. All of our friends, we'd meet up at the park after school or during summer. You know, you played handball, you sat at the benches, you know, you got your free lunch, you went back home before your mom got home from work.
True.
Right? I mean,
facts.
That applies to any community in Santana. But when I was a kid, unfortunately, a lot of my friends went the wrong direction in life. A lot of my friends ended up in prison or they lost their lives. And, as a young kid growing up in a community where you see so many people that you love and care about falling through those cracks, whether it be going to jail or prison or, you know, getting shot or getting arrested. All of that affects kids. My father, was a very good man, born and raised in the community, but he went a different direction in life. You know, he was somebody who joined a gang locally, and it impacted his life. It impacted, you know, my family's life. But my dad only wanted his community to be one where, you know, he could make it home safely. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, we go about finding love in unlovable ways. And so for me as a kid, I knew early on in my life that, you know, men in my family, unfortunately, were falling victim to the prison system, gangs. And I found myself being, you know, mentored and raised by women. My mom raised me, my abuelita Carmen Lopez, my grandmother Endelisa Lopez, and my grandfather Enrique Lopez, and Enrique Prieto, pardon me. They poured into me though. You know, they gave me, you know, rides to school. You know, it was a village of people who cared for me.
Yeah.
My grandfather would drive me to boxing training right here on 4th Street, send in a boxing club.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, my uncle Tony Lopez would give, you know, got my brother Michael a guitar when we were kids.
Yeah.
Got me a bass, you know, got us into, you know, oldies and funk and,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
classic rock, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan, the
Getting
Eagles.
into different outlets and stuff.
Showed us something different.
Right.
And they didn't glorify the streets because they lived it. They didn't glorify the pain because they felt it.
Yeah.
So they wanted us to be kids. They wanted us to be able to choose a different route. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for my brother.
Right.
My brother Michael, my older
Okay.
brother.
Older, okay.
You know, living in the barrio, you know, whatever barrio you live in this country, if you're living in poverty, you know, and being an older brother means you look out for your younger siblings.
Yeah, definitely.
My brother looked out for me. You know, he got me into music, got me into skateboarding, got me into Brazilian jiu-jitsu when he first found it.
Yeah.
You know, as a young man.
What year was that when he was getting you into
This was
jiu-jitsu?
2010.
Oh, okay. So
I
this
was
is early before UFC.
17.
Yeah. Okay.
17 years old. And I remember, you know, him taking the bus to go to jiu-jitsu and telling me, hey, you got to come to the gym.
Yeah.
Bringing me to the gym. And I was already boxing at the time.
Yeah.
And Santa Ana High School has, you know, wrestling programs. And so
One of the best too.
One of the
Yeah,
best. And so at some point, as you're training all of these different disciplines, you start to realize, you know, we're all just kids that want to find good avenues where we can, you know, feel special.
Right.
Whether it be painting or, you know, music and art,
Yes,
graffiti
sir.
arts, breakdancing, you know, cumbias, you know,
Yeah.
folclórico, lo que sea.
Yeah.
Kids need outlets. And for my brother to find and to pull me out of the house and get me into combat sports was life-changing. I ended up having a mentor because of my brother's decision named Mark Munoz.
Right.
Mark Munoz is a fighter who is from Orange County. He was a top middleweight at the time in the world in the UFC. And Mark Munoz had a gym in Lake Forest called Rain Training Center.
Okay.
And Mark Munoz pulled me, you know, through different folks that I knew in the gym and recruited me to go to his gym. And I didn't have transportation. I was a high school kid, of course.
Yeah.
And so he would give me rides to the gym. You know, you're training at 6 a.m, you know, it changes the way you look at life.
Absolutely.
You're training in a room full of dedicated champions and people who don't struggle with bad days. You know, you learn that rubs off on you.
Exactly.
Do you feel like up to that point, sorry to cut you off, do you feel like up to that point, like people were kind of coming into your life trying to help you to, I guess, move along into that path of where you're at right now, which is, you know.
Yeah, it became very clear to me that I was a young man that had a village looking after him.
Yeah.
Whether it be my mom, my grandparents, my uncle, my brother, you know, a wrestling coach, a boxing coach, rest in peace to Coach Dennis Gonzalez with Senator Boxing Club. He taught me a lot about being a man. You know, Mark Munoz, you know, teaching me about being a good human being.
Right.
Not just being a tough guy, but being a guy who can get his ass kicked and come back to the gym and shake hands.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the
Do it
hard
again.
part. Ego, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Coming back and embracing hard work was where I learned that from Mark Munoz.
Yeah.
I learned about, you know, finding comfort through discomfort in the gym.
Yeah.
It prepared me for life. When I became a father, I was 17 years old, you know, at a very pivotal point in my life.
Yeah.
I'm finding mixed martial arts. I'm finding these passions. And I become a parent. And of course, you know, here you have a college journey that is in front of you. You have your educational journey that seems like it may very well end. But becoming a parent, you know, at that young of an age, you know, I remember I knew that I had to do something, you know, radically different. And so what I did as a young person, you know, becoming a parent, was I poured 100% of my skill, my passion, and my love into my daughter. My doing that kept me in the sport of mixed martial arts, but it more importantly connected me closer to my community.
There we go.
And so to tell you who I am is to tell you about who mentored me. I really found myself through becoming a parent. And I think part of why that was so difficult to identify who I was as a young person is because I was seeing men in my family become the same person.
Following the same footsteps.
I didn't want to be that.
Yeah.
And so I found a lot of inspiration from fighters.
Right.
Oscar De La Hoya, they look like
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
You know, seeing Cain Velasquez with brown pride on his chest was crazy.
Yeah, I remember that Brock Lesnar fight when he.
In Anaheim, of all
Yeah,
places.
exactly, of all places. Yeah, man.
I took my daughter
Yeah.
that day to the weigh-ins, but that was like a huge life-changing point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember as a fan, I almost felt conflicted watching somebody with brown pride on their chest. And it was like, why do I feel uncomfortable that others may feel disempowered by seeing this message? And that was when I realized we are innately raised in communities where we're not supposed to feel empowered. We run from our roots.
Right.
And so when I saw Cain Velasquez fighting and becoming a world champion and wearing his roots, you know, proudly, I just thought, you know what, if these barriers are being broken by force, by fighters, who's to say that we can't turn the community into a ring? In the sense that you can treat community organizing and you can treat uplifting your community the same way you treat preparing for a fight. You got to get educated. You have to build coalitions. You have to have camps, right? And more importantly, you have to be successful. And in this case, you know, I looked at education and I looked at family. And I looked at resources and community as, you know, that is the preparation for the battle.
Right.
But combat sports, family, and you know, my daughter is a big part of, you know, who made me this person today.
Fast forward now from when you grew up and you were in the community now, do you feel like it's gotten a lot better in terms of younger people veering off that path of gang life and all that stuff, and now, you know, learning about leadership and, you know, becoming somebody different than what they're used to?
Yeah. But it is an answer that is also a difficult one. Yes, in the sense that where I live, in Artesia Pilar, we haven't seen fatal shootings or fatal stabbings in many years.
Right.
You see reduced graffiti across communities in Artesia Pilar and Ward 5. But there are some communities where we're still struggling with this. You know, we have a beautiful mural in the Santa Anita community that was created by Marina Aguilera, Abraham Moya, James Rocha, Brianna Negrete, and Tai Nguyen. You know, we had an amazing individual named Jonathan Williams who documented the entire process. You know, Big Joe Gonzalez, Wally Gonzalez. These are all residents from Santa Anita that created a mural to reduce graffiti in that community. The mural saw graffiti happen and you know, unfortunately somebody tagged on it. And we had to restore the mural.
What was the mural?
It was a Santa Anita community mural.
Got you.
Comprised off of 5th and Jackson. And it's comprised of Cesar Chavez and a lot of different components of, you know, family members who grew up in the Santa Anita community.
Right.
There's, you know, a history of, you know, a pet shop that was in Santa Anita, which is where the green parrots came from. Pet shop caught fire. People broke out the parrots. The parrots flew. They stayed in the community. We had, you know, of course, a milkman in the neighborhood. He's on the mural. We have, of course, Victoria Barrios, the young lady who was shot and killed in a drive-by. Her grandfather's the president of the Santa Anita Neighborhood Association. So although we have seen violence reduce, gang violence has significantly changed, we still do see the impacts of it, though. A couple weeks ago, we had 3 young people shot in the span of 7 days. A very young man who tragically lost his life. His name was Daniel. And we're demanding justice for him. We see tragic shootings happening far too often in Santa Ana. And, you know, the message I ask, you know, my neighbors and myself is, why is it that in Santa Ana, so many young people are getting shot and killed? Why are we normalizing the loss of, you know, young, predominantly brown kids? Where if this were to happen in cities, beautiful cities that are neighbors, like Irvine, there would be a grieving mother, you know, pleading for justice, being listened to, being advocated for. It happens so much in this community that it almost feels like some elected officials don't want to talk about it. And that's where I have a disagreement. We need to get in front of these issues. And so to answer your question, the issue of gang violence has reduced, but we cannot take our foot off of the gas pedal in the sense. When it comes to addressing the need for peace, unity, and for us to value our own lives.
Right.
Because if it's not enough that cops are killing us in our city, we also have to worry about each other. That's wrong. We can't demand justice if cops are killing us, if we're killing each other. But when we talk about violence, these are the 2 predominantly areas where we commonly will see our relatives are impacted. Gang violence and police violence. And so in addressing gang violence, we're also addressing police violence by protecting brown people. When you're addressing gang violence, you're protecting children, which in turn protects the way that these communities are policed. If we're taking care of each other and we're reducing graffiti in our own neighborhoods and we're keeping our parks clean and we're greeting our neighbors as they walk past us. There is no, I don't understand who's standing across the street from me.
Isn't that interesting? Because sometimes, I mean, I always cross people and everybody has their head down and nobody really, that sense of community is not, I guess because there's a lot of different types of people in Santa Ana, you know, and you don't know who's the next person next to you, know?
It is. It's a great point.
I guess what can we all do as a community, you know, not necessarily relying heavily on government or anything like that. Like what is it that we can do as a community to help?
It's a great question to ask.
Yeah.
There really is no clear answer, but I can share what we can do, you know, in our own backyard locally.
Yeah.
We can start by respecting kids.
Right.
And embracing children, right? Because no one is born a gang member or a criminal.
Exactly.
We all are born, you know, in the eyes of God. You know, children, they deserve to be invested in. They deserve to be supported. They deserve to be advocated for.
Yeah.
Right.
The kids that are joining barrios are kids who, you know, unfortunately have lost their childhood at a young age due to violence, you know, whether it be because they see violence in the household because their parents, or maybe it's a parent who was taken to prison. That is the quickest way to speed up a process for a young person to enter the world of, you know, harming each other. So the best things we can do is support, you know, your friends who are parents to be good parents.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
You know, be at home with your kid, you know, make it normal to be out with your friends celebrating their child's birthday.
Yeah.
Have it, you know, be a regular occurrence to ask children how their day is going. You know, if you have a hard day with a child you love, make it normal to talk to them about those difficult days.
Yeah.
Make it normal to embrace a world where children are considered. Because why is it that young people are getting shot in this community?
Right.
It's young people turning on each other. And so we have to start with loving young people. We have to embrace that kids should have all the tools they need in this city. We shouldn't have to battle between, is it a cop on a corner or giving a kid a community center and a library?
Exactly.
You can have both, right? But it shouldn't be one or the other. And so number two is I was going to, you know, share something very important is invest in children and families.
Absolutely.
You have to invest in their future. If
Yes.
you do not give children a place where they can be kids, they will do it in an alley. They will do it on a street. Give them parks. Give them community centers. If you see kids writing on a wall, read what they're writing. Some of these kids are writing, you know, travieso. Some of these kids are writing, you know, triste. What does that mean? You know, troubles.
Exactly.
You know, sad boy.
Yep.
If anything, those are messages for us to lean in closer. You know what it takes for someone to write a name like that on the wall?
Yeah.
You got to go through a lot.
Yep. Exactly.
And so it's also understanding that, you know, there's trauma that is occurring in our city on every corner of every single day. How are we, you know, acknowledging these traumas in the most empathetic ways that we can? Ways that I've done it in neighborhoods where we have historically experienced hardship, trauma, and loss is murals. We create murals talking about people you love. And that gets families to feel part of a community.
Yeah.
It gets them to want to talk and open up in a way that maybe they're not used to, and incorporating arts in everything that you do.
Absolutely.
What is a conversation without art?
Exactly.
It's
uninspiring. Yeah.
right? But art is the actualization of this is where we're at.
Exactly.
You could speak for a whole neighborhood with a powerful mural, and you could go to someone's door and know who they are based off the art in their community. And so it's not being afraid of the communities that we live in. It's understanding that Santa Ana, you know, is a community that is as black as it is brown.
Yeah.
It has rich Native American history. It has rich, you know, Asian American Pacific Islander history. We had a Chinatown in Santa Ana, downtown. We have the largest Vietnamese community in Orange County, right? We have, you know, very prominent, you know, European, you know, owned businesses here. We once had the old ship. We had fish and chips on Bristol,
cool,
right? Like Santana is a city where you're going to find something for everybody.
Yeah.
But the reason why our city has particularly struggled in the area of why aren't we looking up at each other and saying hello is because there's so many different stories. We need to use art and we need to exemplify what it looks like to embrace our neighbor. If we're going to create a world of hope, we have to inspire it. So we need to be those people to, hola, ¿cómo estás?
Yeah.
Te puedo ayudar con esto, or, let me help you cross the street. Sometimes it's crossing Main Street in La Cuatro and you see someone in a wheelchair. And you pull over your car, you park it, and you walk them across the street, you get back in there.
Yep. Takes 2 minutes.
Ain't nobody got to see that.
Yeah.
You know what you did to help someone else that day.
Exactly.
Normalize doing that in every single instance of your life, even if it makes you take more time out of your day.
Yeah.
You're making the world a better place.
So do you think, hosting cultural events, like I know we do like the Tamal Fest and all that stuff. Do you think doing more, like I guess associating different cultures and doing those events, you think that's an idea we can bring community together?
Yes.
I guess,
Yeah. I mean, I'll share some concrete examples. In Santana, you have Fiestas Patrias, the largest Independence Day celebration for Mexican Americans, right? We're celebrating Mexican independence. Yeah. We're the only city in Orange County that does it. We have a parade for over 30 years, right? Well, that is celebrating the largest demographic of our residents, Mexican Americans. We have the 4th of July celebration, which celebrates, of course, the independence of this country, but it doesn't celebrate the independence of natives.
Yeah.
Right? So the city of Santa Ana has Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah.
Celebrating Indigenous
important,
people.
Man.
First Nation, right? We have Mid-Autumn Festival celebrating the API community. We have a Lunar New Year event in Santa Ana. We have Chicano Heritage Festival, which people say, well, you already have Fiestas Patrias. Well, this specifically, Fiestas Patrias talks about Mexican independence, but Chicano Heritage Festival, talks specifically about the contributions of Mexican Americans. And it highlights the Chicano Moratorium, which took place August 29th of 1970, a day that saw a Santa Ana resident, Ruben Salazar, get killed by the sheriffs. He was our first Mexican-American journalist to represent us at the LA Times.
Oh, wow.
And he was a Santa Ana resident. At the largest protest of led by Mexican Americans, August 29th of 1970, he was shot and killed. And the demands for justice, have been long fought for, but it goes to show you that's history we should be talking about.
Yeah.
Why is Mexican-American history so important for the Chicano Heritage Festival? Well, 5 Mexican families in Orange County from 1946 to 1948 fought to desegregate, our school districts, Orange, Garden Grove, Westminster, and Santa Ana. The family that represented us here in Santana was the Guzman family. They lived in Artesia Pilar on 2nd Street in Rey. The Mendez family also had roots in Santa Ana. And the Guzman family went to Fremont Elementary. I also went there myself. But that was the first case of families desegregating schools. And the lawyer who represented Westminster versus Mendez, Sylvia Mendez's family, was Thurgood Marshall, a black lawyer who went on to set the precedent for the country with Brown versus Board of Education, desegregating schools. And of course, he became our Supreme Court, right? And fought to introduce the civil rights movement. Santa Ana played a pivotal role in sending a message to this country about segregation. We started with addressing our schools in Orange County. And so that event is crucial to Mexican Americans understanding we're more than prison inmates, we're more than statistics, and we're more than people who are getting shot and killed by the cops. We're people who have changed this country in the best of ways, and we've worked collaboratively with the Black community, with Native Americans, with people who are oppressed. And, we have a Juneteenth festival that is led by the Black community from Santa Ana. Santa Ana has the longest standing Black History Parade that began, and was organized by our residents. This Black History Parade has existed in Orange County for 45 years and was started by a Black woman named Helen Shipp. Helen Shipp started this parade with her 9 children in Santa Ana off of Rate and Willits. And so when I became a council member, the first event I ever worked to collaborate with our community on was working with the Orange County Heritage Council. I worked with Helen Shipp, the founder of the Black History Parade. I worked with her son, Dwayne Shipp, on creating the Juneteenth Festival and having the Black community lead that event. They brought Talib Kweli, Sherelle, DJ Battle Cat,
that's dope.
Slum Village, Howard Johnson, the Delphonics, free music festivals that are talking about Black history, Native history, Indigenous peoples' history, Mexican independence, 4th of July, Chicano heritage, talking about police violence, talking about gang violence, Mid-Autumn Festival. There's something for everybody here, and that needs to be embraced.
Do you think if we were to promote that more, you think that kind of violence would dwindle? aim it more towards the kids as well.
Well, I feel like when you have like self-identity and you kind of know where you're coming from, the history, like you're pointing out, it's like, I think once you're more proud of yourself, you kind of stop with the self-destructive habits, you know?
And the good thing is it's all online.
Yeah.
It's all on social media. It can be Googled. But let's talk
also
about the powerful history of Juneteenth, right? Like, how are we uniting, you know, the black community in a city that the black community at one point, you know, was divided by violence. Same as the brown community. You know, when you look at Juneteenth, it's being led by the community. It's being led by the founders of the Black History Parade. You know, people who have introduced community centers to the city, people who are parents. And so when you see these organizations leading events like Juneteenth, you're seeing these organizations provide scholarships on the stage, the same stage that Battle Cat's performing on, you know, to Lib Kweli. You're seeing Santa Ana residents get $5,000 scholarships.
That's awesome.
For finishing high school, going into college. That
awesome.
is gang prevention. That is
100%.
creating a pathway for college and higher education. The Chicano Heritage Festival includes community murals. My daughter at 13 participated and was mentored by Marina Aguilera, one of the best muralists in our city, in the country.
She did the Artesia Pillar mural, right?
She did all of them.
Dude,
dope.
beautiful.
That's dope.
But
Beautiful
think of
art.
that. Children in my neighborhood are being mentored by her.
That's awesome.
They're seeing her create art. You have the Chicano Heritage Festival where you have, you know, every festival that we have has a kid zone, jumpers, carnival rides, face painting. So we're not approaching these events with, hey, come and enjoy this as an adult. You're bringing your family with you. You're bringing your grandma, your mom, your sisters, your brothers, your kids, and you're enjoying these events as a family. You're setting up a blanket on the floor. We're not having beer gardens at these events because we don't want to divide the family with alcohol. We want to have an event in a space that's going to inspire families to do more together. That's how you prevent gang violence. You have to keep families together. You have to create opportunities for families to be families.
Like movies in the park.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
saw
helped
that one.
fund that.
Yeah, that was really cool. I thought that
Yes.
was fun. Popcorn for the people. I was like, that's one way to bring the families together.
We do it across the city now. You know, it's funding movies in the park. It's funding investment in the zoo. It means taking zoo animals out of the zoo to the community parks in neighborhoods where kids may not make it.
Yeah.
It means having a Libromobile. We brought back a bookmobile.
Bro, I used to love that as a kid, man.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like, who didn't? You, and
Get
then
my
you,
bookmarks.
you knew what it felt like as a kid when you saw the bookmobile pull up.
Yeah.
And you had like $5 in your pocket and you're like, I could buy a book and a bookmark. But it's bringing that back. Festivals like Chicano Heritage to El Salvador Park, a park where kids, you know, are used to seeing people they love, unfortunately, go into that park and not come out. When I was a kid, it was a park where a lot of people lost their lives. So when you see a park transformed and invested in, and you remember that park being, this is where I saw Malo, or Kid Frost, or Johnathan, or the Delphonics at Centennial Park. These parks become very different places for our kids, not us. They're changing for us.
Yeah.
But it's about giving a different definition to a new generation of Santa Ana residents as to what these parks represent. They represent opportunity. They represent where I was first preschooled. El Salvador Park now has a preschool program. We're building a park in the Willard neighborhood, right? We're building parks off of Rate and Myrtle.
There we go.
Skate parks.
There we go.
We're giving these neighborhoods that have historically been ignored the resources that they need so that kids, you know, have everything that they need so that we're not too late to the conversation about what could we have done or we should have done more. We cannot afford to practice on young people's lives. They're too sacred.
Yeah. Is it tough to get projects like that funded, like to the city and stuff? Like, what are the challenges to get those kinds of things done?
The challenges are the police, because it's either, you know, you get elected by the cops giving you money and endorsing you and controlling you throughout your whole career. And then they tell you how to vote and how to spend the public taxpayers' money.
Oh, man.
And they ask you to approve raises that you just simply can't afford. That's the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Is how do you build a park in a community where children are being shot at? You do need public safety, but you also need components where families can be families.
Exactly.
There's only so many memories you can make in an alley before you start writing on it. You feel me?
Yeah, 100%.
And so we have to remove the politics and the safety of the conversation and acknowledge that the biggest barrier in these barrios has been cops. Why do you think the McFadden Library is closed on McFadden and Fairview? It's now the Santa Ana Police Officers, Athletic League.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
We
I didn't even
closed
know
a
that.
library
Yeah.
to build a police athletic league that is serving less than 100 students a year. Think about how many students a library serves in a day. You don't even have to be a member there.
Yeah.
They serve seniors, they serve students, college students,
Yep.
parents, children, families, business owners, everybody. But we have a significant challenge where if you're going to build a park, for instance, I unveiled a brand new park yesterday. 1.5 million of that money came from grants,
There we go.
meaning
So you're finding other ways.
we're finding other ways.
Yeah.
But imagine, we have over $500 million in the city of Santa Ana's budget. I'm one of 7 people who votes on that budget. But imagine if we just invested in young people. We would have gotten rid of the issue of gang violence 30 years ago. How do we still have the same gangs today that existed 30 years ago with cop budgets going up every year?
See, that's a real question right there.
Well, I live in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and I'll
Yeah.
tell you, I live in the neighborhood, El Salvador Park, Artesia Pilar, and I'll tell you, kids ain't getting killed in the park anymore. The second you invested in that park, you fix those handball courts, you fix that basketball court, you bring festivals there, you invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into a community that has seen tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And all of a sudden it stops. Well, that's because these communities are now being resourced. Communities are
Exactly.
safest when they are resourced.
Yep. Not when there's a pile of dirt left there for 50 years.
I got to dap you up on that.
Dude, we've been
makes
seeing
sense.
that
That
a
makes
lot,
sense.
man.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
but
you're right. It's good to see that because it's true. It's like a lot of the parks, if you could hear it's like what they say when you're in a room, if these walls could talk, well, a lot of the parks, especially close to us where we grew up, was Memorial Park.
one of the oldest Chicano parks.
Exactly, man. And it was, I think, growing up in the 90s when we used to go, you couldn't be there late because, there's a lot of stories there that just, it wasn't helpful to a young child, our age, So I know that what you're doing right now is like telling a different story, bringing different memories to those parks. So that's dope,
Yeah.
man. I got to commend you on that, man.
Oh, and thank you.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
love and respect to your guys' community you grew up in. Memorial Park is one of the oldest Chicano parks in the whole city. And it's also one of the only parks that we have in the city with the godfather of Chicano art having blessed that neighborhood with a mural, Chicano Gothic. The beautiful mural that is near the
whale?
pool is made by the godfather of Chicano art,
dope.
Emilio
That's dope.
Vasquez.
That's dope.
And we're reconstructing Memorial Pool, and that mural is going to be protected.
Oh, yes.
And so
Perfect.
thank you to Alicia Rojas. She's a resident from the city, a longtime artist, one of the leaders of the Santa Ana Artist Coalition. She informed us and essentially rang the alarm that this mural was going to be erased. And so we fought tooth and nail to protect it. And I want to thank our brand new acting city manager, Alvaro Nunez, a Chicano who lives and works in the city, 30 plus years. And he understood the cultural significance and the community didn't have to really fight too hard for it.
Yeah.
The council backed them up.
Yeah.
And so we protected that Chicano mural in your neighborhood.
Nice. I love it. So
Appreciate that,
initially,
man.
why would they want to take down something that's been there for so long? That means something to people, Like I feel
You
like
just
it's-
said it. You
Yeah.
just said the answer. It means something to some people.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Oh.
mean something to everyone.
Ah.
It means something to us.
So you think if you're an outsider that comes inside the council, it's just like, let's just try to change everything we can. And I mean, if they don't know anything, it's like, we can
Yeah.
just tear it down.
I mean,
whatever.
look at this. You guys are in the historic, Spurgeon building.
Oh, yeah.
This was a downtown that was being gentrified about 10 years ago. Me as a council member, I fought to get rid of the bid.
Yeah.
Which was an additional self-imposed tax. You guys would have had to pay this year. I fought to remove that bid because it was
Appreciate you.
It was making businesses, it was putting them in a position where it was very financially difficult to stay open. And they were pouring money into a bid that they just weren't seeing an investment in, in returning to the community. You were seeing a lot of Latino businesses being pushed out, closed down. The streetcar could have been disastrous for businesses. But, people like myself, we created the Santa Ana Business Interruption Fund. I funded that, and I worked with our mayor, Vicente Sarmiento, the people's mayor. He's now our county supervisor. Me and Sarmiento worked on the ground with every
Excellent.
business in downtown, We funded protecting our businesses from displacement by creating a Santa Ana Business Interruption Fund to help businesses stay afloat during the construction of the streetcar. We funded it at $3 million.
Nice.
You know, that's money directly to a business to help pay for rent.
Yep.
Beautiful.
That's awesome.
And so it was thinking creatively as to how are we going to protect vulnerable people, business owners as well, need to be looked at as vulnerable people, because you guys are pouring everything you have out into a community, keeping this community afloat. We need to do the same. So, you know, when I became a councilman, I knew we had to have out of the box thinking to protect us from gentrification. And so, you know, here I am talking to two brown people in downtown Santana. You know, I say that proudly. We live in a county where our stories aren't embraced as much as they should be. And that's why those murals are so quick to be erased, is because it's easy to push out, you know, businesses like us. It's easy to push out our stories. It's easy to price us out of the communities that we built.
And what's their goal? Like, if let's say in the event they pushed everyone out, what's their goal? Is it to just bring big companies here and just take over?
Corporatize everything,
corporate.
I think the goal is displacement of people of color, right? You look at Santana, and how many like loved ones do you have that moved to the IE? I don't even have to ask.
Yeah, we know some people.
I remember
that
it
moved.
was attractive to go out there. It was like, oh, dude, the houses
Cheaper
in Corona,
homes,
Riverside,
$200,000,
Yes.
$300,000 homes.
But that was by design.
Yeah.
Because that family that moved out was once here.
Yep.
Right? And so think of that. We all were once united with our familias at one point.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we were priced out, and then we were forced to sell, or we were pushed out because the streets were widened on Bristol. And they bought up our homes.
Yep.
Or they eminent domained them. Think of Warner in the Delhi community. All of Warner's going to be widened.
Yeah,
So that means Mexican homeowners who have lived there for 100 years, their properties are being bought up.
Oh, man.
So that we can expand streets. This isn't happening in historically affluent communities like Corona Del Mar, you know, with South County cities.
Yeah.
It's happening in places where there's poverty. What you're seeing is economic segregation.
That makes
We have a
sense.
second civil rights movement coming, and it's going to be black and brown people leading it. But that's what we're fighting right now is we have symbols of freedom. We can go to college, we can own homes, we can open businesses. Tell me when you see a college named after us. Tell me where you see a credit union that is managed and built by us. Tell me where you see tell me where you see, you know, our names, you know, being buried on a street like Bristol. We have been so far removed from having a seat at the table, we don't even think of the purpose of street names, let alone owning a building. And so part of addressing like why would they want to push our stories out is because economically, you know, Orange County remains a county where families are pushed out and divided by resources. The amount of money you can afford to live here is, you know, that's ultimately ends up being, you know, can I stay in Orange County? Can I afford it? So we have to protect each other, which means in government, we need to take power. As a council member, I passed rent control, which state of California's rent cap is 10%. The community, Tenants United, was residents coming together, and they were organizing and fighting over many years. And as a council member, when I got elected during COVID, you think, how do you protect your residents? The state of California has a 10% rent cap. So in Santa Ana, we created rent control. Now there's a rent cap at 3%. We're protecting our residents. We're not giving them a fighting chance. We're giving them better than a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
We're giving them dignity. We're giving them something better than hope. That's respect, right? We're meeting them where they're at. I fought as a policymaker so that if you have a child who's enrolled in school, you cannot be evicted during a school year, protecting children and families. Because we know that displacement and constant moving for children impacts their ability to learn and retain education. And it also impacts a child's development over time. And so it also is public health, you know, protecting people from displacement. You know, housing affordability and protecting renters is also a matter of public safety and public health.
So I know we got some time left here, but I want to get into getting to know more about you and what, you know, your favorites are around here and all this stuff. So eateries, hidden gems in Santa Ana that you think nobody knows about but they should.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to start off with some history.
Excellent.
Orange County is home to some of the best foods you could think of.
Oh yeah,
we have
definitely
award-winning restaurants, right? But when you talk about Orange County, you got to talk about Santa Ana first. Santa Ana started Orange County, so I'm biased. I got to start in Santana.
Yeah.
Santana is home to the oldest Mexican restaurant in all of Orange County. It's in Artesia Pilar. off of 5th Street in Holly, Sarinanas Tamale Factory.
Oh, have you ever been there?
Nah, but you know where I've been to? Los Grandes.
Los Grandes. I was going to say that next. Okay. So look, off of 5th Street in Holly, the oldest Mexican restaurant is located there.
Interesting.
Sarinanas Tamale Factory. They're from Durango.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you right now.
The best. What do we order when we get there?
Order, you got to get hard shell tacos.
Excellent.
Chicken or papa. You got to get an order of enchiladas, the red ones. These are the best enchiladas I've ever had.
Interesting.
They're from Durango. The recipe, you will not be able to go to any other Mexican restaurant and try the same enchiladas.
That's a family recipe right
Because the recipe from Durango is a little bit sweet. So when you try the enchiladas, it's not like nothing you've ever had. Or when you try an enchilada, you can visualize it. And you can see you grabbing the fork. And you're like, I've tried this.
You kind of know the taste already coming, yeah.
This is different.
Yeah.
Very different.
That's dope.
Check it out. And shout out to the Sarinanas family, Teresa Nieves, and all of the beautiful people there. I was going to also mention Artisa Pilar's own Los Grandes. Los Grandes has bomb
Fire,
tacos.
dude. I haven't found one thing I don't like on the menu, bro.
I always recommend getting tacos de asada.
Yep.
Right there. If I'm going to get tacos de asada, I always like to go to Los Grandes. My
Yes,
hard
sir.
shell tacos, I go to Sarinanas. I love the tacos de asada from Los Grandes. On top of that, too, if you want to get some bomb breakfast, Los Grandes has everything.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. You can get
know they sold
flautas,
bro.
you can get chilaquiles, you can get enchiladas, you can get hard shell tacos, carnitas, lo que sea. Their
Love
agua
it.
frescas are bomb, and they're locally owned.
Menudo, all that, bro.
Menudo's phenomenal. Another spot, a hidden gem down the street from where y'all grew up, Taqueria El Zamorano.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been
100%.
there?
That's a classic. Yeah, my dad used to always take
Oh,
it.
yeah?
I'm going to
100%.
say, best tortillas in town are at El Zamorano.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to
Tasty.
Echo and shout out to El Zamorano, the familia. They're a long-time Santana-owned business. Some of the best foods in Santana exist at Zamorano. Fresh, handmade tortillas. You can watch them cook while you order your food.
Yeah. Are they on Warner? Or is that what it is?
Warner.
On Warner. Then I have seen
Bro,
them.
you've been there, bro. I'm
Interesting.
going to have to take you to that. We're going to have to take a field trip,
Yeah, we're
bro.
going to have to take a little field trip. after.
Warner and Flour. If I'm going to give you the trifecta of Mexican food, it's Sarinanas, Los Grandes, El Zamorano. Something else I got to share, I got to say, Lucy's Pizza.
Oh, hell
yeah.
That's my
Lucy's
new
Pizza.
spot right there, bro. for
In
pizza.
downtown Santa Ana,
Yeah.
Lucy's Pizza is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Love it.
Locally owned, born and raised in Santana. They don't sell wings. They don't sell nothing else. You're going to go get a pie, you go there. What a Lot of Pizza off of Bristol and Memory. Classic Santa Ana spot.
Yeah.
Buccaneers Pizza.
True. Right there off of the freeway, the 22.
Yes, off
Yeah.
of 22.
Bomb.
Off of Grand. That is another hidden gem. Beautiful pizza. Santa Ana owned. And then I got to say, Pekin Kitchen. Chinese food off of 17th Street and right by Ross Street.
Interesting.
The Pekin Kitchen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
One of the
Kind of by where Tito's Tacos is?
That's exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, I haven't been there.
Check this out. One of the oldest Chinese-owned restaurants in the city. One of the original spots you can go to is Pekin Kitchen. High quality Chinese food, fresh as can be. And then I'm gonna say one more spot, brother. And that's I'm gonna go with Crave in downtown Santana.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If I want some good, healthy American breakfast and I want to impress someone, I'm taking them to Crave.
Crave, yeah.
Crave is amazing. And then I got to talk about, I got to give an honorary mention to a couple of like Santana staples. Of course, Chapter 1. You have Chapter 1 in downtown Santana off of Broadway. They're a staple business. It used to be a bookstore back in the day, which is why it's called Chapter 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go to Chapter 1, try their duck fat fries, try their lentils,
Yep.
their chimichurri steak,
Yep.
their burger.
Yep.
I mean, right? Like,
Yeah. I work there, so
Okay,
yeah,
so you know,
you visit me. You can come
So that's
visit
why
me, bro.
I'm telling you, like, Chapter 1, it's purposeful, the name.
Yeah.
You're going to be in there like a book.
There's
multiple chapters for the food.
And shout out to Chef Luis Perez, who recently got on the Michelin
Shout
guide
out to
list.
him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Lola Gaspar. Yep.
Lola Gaspar as well.
Yeah, Lola
Lola
Gaspar.
Gaspar. I got to say, best burger in town, I go to Lola Gaspar.
Yeah,
The
dude.
gold foil tin burger, I think is what the name was called. One of the best burgers I've ever had.
Oh, really?
I think
love
it's in
it.
the 10, bro.
Yeah, right?
It's a little nostalgic, yeah.
That's awesome.
I could keep on going.
We
on
could
for
go,
days.
yeah.
I'm a foodie. And I gotta share just one last one.
Yeah.
And I love Italian food.
Oh yeah.
Cucina Alessa.
I don't think I've heard of that place either.
Cucina Alessa is not in Santana. It used to formerly be in Newport. There's one in Huntington Beach as well. The best Italian food I've had in town.
Interesting. So back to the pizza. Does pineapple belong on pizza or what?
You're asking me some controversial questions. You know what? Out of love and respect for my grandma in Delisa Prieto, yes.
Yeah.
Why not, man? Let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Put it this way, y'all. Put it this way. My grandma was so down. My abuelita in Delisa Prieta was so down with pineapple. Check this out. This is crazy.
Yeah.
She used to buy pineapple pizza from Domino's and not even eat the pineapple. She used to take them off just because she liked how the pineapple tasted.
Damn, she just like that quality of pineapple.
Yeah, but she'd eat the pineapple separately.
Yeah.
And so she liked that little lingering taste.
The
Yeah.
fusion of it.
Since then, I always had love and respect for pineapple.
If you're not at work or doing the council member stuff, what interests or hobbies are you doing on your free time?
I love that question. It's because it's like I don't get to talk about the other side of
who you
what
are.
I do sometimes. Man, honestly, I'll be chilling with my daughter.
Yeah.
Hanging out with my daughter. We're pass holders to a lot of cool theme parks here.
There we go.
So we spend a lot of time, enjoying thrills. She likes good music, so she likes to collect CDs, vinyls. She likes
Old school.
comic books.
Yeah.
She's a Simpsons collector.
Oh.
So I love taking her out to find collectibles.
Yeah.
That's how I like to do it on my free time. I love good food, so I like trying good food, of course. How am I not going to shout out Hiro Nori? Hiro Nori is a ramen spot. More than likely, if I'm not working or I'm not with my little one, I'm probably taking care of myself.
There you go.
Making some good food, going for a run or working out. I invest a lot into my health. If I'm going to be a leader in this community, I also have to take care and treat my body like a temple. Because what value am I if I am not valuing myself?
Exactly.
How am I going to help others in my community if I'm not actively caring for me?
Yeah.
I need to show up for myself to show up for others. And
Yes,
so
100%.
I go to a Firme Club at Suavecito. Raw Talent Boxing Club is a boxing club in Santana. And then I got to shout out my homie, business owner in downtown, Manny Padilla. He owns the Man Cave Barber Shop. But he's very much been like my personal trainer. He kind of got my passion for combat sports,
Oh, there we go.
Fired up.
He kind of got it
Reinvigorated.
kicked into gear.
Yeah.
But he took me to the boxing gym out of COVID, got me into the gym again, working out.
There we go.
Has been like my personal coach, getting me in shape. So I'll spend a lot of time working out. And then lastly, I like funk music. I love the Funk Freak shows that they put on.
There we go.
I like oldies, so you catch me enjoying some oldies. If I'm not enjoying a concert, I'm probably playing some vinyl or listening to some good hip hop or making some sort of a Spotify playlist.
There we go. I know. I saw you were a hip hop head. I love it, dude.
hip-hop. Yeah.
Can you name like your top three artists that you enjoy listening to and get inspiration from?
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go Tupac Shakur. You gotta go Tupac Shakur.
100%.
Tupac, the rose that grew from concrete, right? Dear Mama. I mean, somebody who used his platform to talk about social issues, right? Hip hop was always meant to be a tool for the people, to uplift communities. Tupac, I feel, did a great job in talking and acknowledging that we are roses from concrete. People who are gravitating to hip hop come from communities that have experienced pain. We may be missing a couple petals, we may be leaning a little to the side, but we're still roses. We still deserve to be treated with that love and respect.
Yeah, I think I heard when you were growing up, you ran into his poetry book, right?
Huge. Changed my life. The book of poetry, The Rose That Grew from Concrete. And that's number one for me. It's Tupac.
So Tupac for sure.
Number two, I would say Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill is an artist that taught us to use music and art as a protest. She could have made several albums if she wanted to, but she didn't want to be somebody who was exploited and used and taken advantage of.
Sellout.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the industry.
It's like Erykah Badu and like Andre 3000.
Yeah. And so their protest speaks in the fact that their music is still relevant today. Her music is still relevant today. And so Lauryn Hill with the Fugees and everything that she did, one of the craziest bars from Lauryn Hill is recent with Nas. If I'm the messenger, you block me, then you block the message.
True.
That's why Lauryn Hill is I have her right
dope.
there.
Yeah.
Because think of the message. You can't block Lauryn Hill, but for her to acknowledge it articulately in a bar, if I'm the messenger, you block me, then you block the message. Right? That's gangster. It is the acknowledgement that I'm taking space and there's nothing you can do about it. And so women have always been integral to hip hop and to movements. And so you can't talk about hip hop without mentioning the greats like Lauryn Hill. And number 3, I'm gonna go Psycho Realm, because look, growing up in Santana, that's not just hip hop. That's a movement.
Yeah.
That was where, you know, hip hop became political for Chicanos, in the sense that hip hop concerts were always political. But when you went to a Psycho Realm show, you had people from different counties, backyards, barrios in the same place, uniting over the same message. So shout out to Sick Jackson and Be Real and Big Duke from Psycho Realm. Because they gave a lot of us a voice to be able to be attracted to a Nipsey Hussle, or to be able to be attracted to, you know, a Lefty Gunplay, or, you know, some of these artists that we now see that are popping in the brown community, right? For me as a Chicano, it was an introduction to more political, you know, aggressive, conscious hip hop. You know, it's why an artist like Nipsey Hussle could make sense to someone like me, an artist like Immortal Technique. I started with Psycho Realm, and it educated me on, you know, Palace of Exile, talking about prisons. It educated me on talking about Native and Chicano and indigenous identities, you know, and how we're all very common, and then sometimes we're shared stories, right? They also taught us about enemy of the state, talking about cops in the state looking at us like inmates rather than human beings. Psycho Realm is talking about, you know, the amount of prisons being built in California. Right? You got 30 prisons that have been built since 1980. How many college universities have we built since 1980?
That's crazy.
Right? And so it's like 23 prisons to one university, right? That is imbalanced. There's no secret why you got so many people, black and brown, entering prisons. And so I thank Psycho Realm for using their art to give somebody, you know, the ability to talk about harsh realities and brutal truths, because it's needed. That's the only way we move forward, is you got to acknowledge that concrete.
So what do you think of Kendrick Lamar? You know, he had that Juneteenth concert, and it was massive. What did you think of that?
First of all, let's get
Let's go, dude.
That was a dope concert.
Because he is showing hip hop and the industry that you cannot buy the culture. There isn't anything a radio station could have done to put on for black people the way that Kendrick did. Kendrick threw a concert on Juneteenth in his city and unified black people from different neighborhoods, sections, sets. The West Side was at the table in unity, peace, and harmony. And calling out someone in the hip hop industry that he called a colonizer. I respect it, because we need to understand that hip hop has always been a radical tool. Right? It has always been. Nina Simone, is a black artist, talked about the role of an artist is to reflect the times. Kendrick is reflecting the times today. Hip hop didn't need him to throw a concert on a Friday. They needed him to throw a Juneteenth show, because this country in 2021, our president declared Juneteenth a federal holiday. Why are some cities not celebrating it?
That's interesting.
Right?
I didn't think about it.
But the second you talk about, you know, black music, you know, it's so quick to shift away from black culture and just call it hip hop.
Right.
But it's black culture, and it is to be celebrated and uplifted. And to see him do that, and to give the culture back to the people and stream it for free, we celebrated Juneteenth with him. He taught the world we're going to celebrate Juneteenth together. And that's what is radical about art. You're an artist, is that you can fully immerse the world into your art, and they can be part of it. So what he did that day was he showed the world that Juneteenth isn't something to be romanticized. His music advanced how we celebrate culture. That was a monumental day for the people, specifically black people.
And the thing is he can take the longest break without making music and come out and boom.
Come on, sometimes you got to show out and pop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because it's relevant, man. Hell yeah. As you can tell, we also have, you know, some books here. You know, we got some Mamba mentality stuff, and I've seen on other podcasts that you're an avid reader.
Yes.
Can you list a couple books, maybe the top 3 books that kind of help, that inspire you, that are motivational to you?
Yeah, I'll point out one that you have here.
Yeah.
So I'll talk first about like a couple key books. The Art of War.
Okay.
You have to learn, right? You talk about the Art of War, Sun Tzu. War
Right.
is a term that we only associate with what we see overseas. But there's wars happening in our backyard, and oftentimes they're invisible, right? There's a war being waged on our community right now. The cops spend millions of dollars to take your voice away in your election. There's a reason why political campaigns are called campaigns. There's a reason why politicians use terms like war chest when they talk about fundraising. There's a reason why they talk about, campaigns in politics is very closely tied to the term war. Why is that? So as I was moving into politics, I figured, what better thing to do than to study war? And so Art of War just really prepared me for the battlefield, if you will. It prepared me for understanding that as much as I'm helping people, there are going to be people who also want to tear me down, and that not every battle has to be fought. But I'll be purposeful as to how we win these wars. And so you may win a battle or two, but we're going to make sure the wars are won and that the victories stay with the people in a political sense. So Art of War, I would say The Boy Who Was Raised by a Dog, as a Dog by Dr. Bruce Perry. It's a book that talks about, the impacts of trauma and how it affects the brain's development and the brain's, relationship with psychology and how does trauma impact all of that. It's a very important book that humanizes our own lived experiences. And it forced me to take a look at childhood experiences that I didn't realize changed my life. Another book I would say is The Rose That Grew from Concrete.
Oh, good.
Tupac Shakur.
Yeah.
And ironically, you have it. Is 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
Right? This is an extremely helpful book. I read this book when I was 17 years old. And my daughter was in the womb.
Yeah.
And I was on a bus going to work part-time at Joanna's fabric store.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I was a kid, of course, working on a work permit,
Yeah.
And I remember not feeling in power at all. And here I am reading this massive book, right? I mean, you're talking about 400 plus pages. And a lot of it doesn't even make sense when you're that young. But the beautiful thing about education is it's constant.
Right.
You're always learning. So I came back to this book a lot. And this is actually one of the books I have on my desk.
That's dope.
Nice.
Yeah, so when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is,
Yeah.
y'all are on some good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man.
And it's funny because you can read it
Thank you.
one time and then read it again and it could mean totally something different.
I probably got to read Harry Potter again in that case.
It's deeper than what we
Who knows?
thought.
Maybe I find some socio-political message there.
All right, Jonathan. And then if you could start a project without any limitations, what would it be?
Ooh, man, you guys have had some really good questions.
Thank you.
guys
We
may
try.
have
We
to
try.
run for- you guys may have had to like be commissioners or something. for the city, man. It would be a program very similar to Homeboy Industries. I would want to create a program that has housing for formerly incarcerated people, housing for, seniors, and housing for, low-income families. And what I would want to see is, micro businesses on the front that are being, managed by the residents who live there, instead of just having like an office space. Those office spaces be occupied by, art instructors, local businesses like, having a bakery or a coffee shop that is being, staffed by formerly incarcerated people from our community that we can hire and help them work in the community. And inside these facilities, similar to Homeboy Industries, there's tattoo removal.
Right.
There's domestic violence classes, there's family resource centers, all within the same block. So essentially, a Thug's Mansion.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
dope. Yeah.
I like that.
But Homeboy Industries has a very beautiful model. Father Greg Boyle is a fantastic leader. And what he's done is he's created essentially a hub where you have community intervention workers who do gang intervention, case management. They work with you for, 2 years on end. They help you with tattoo removals, getting right to work documents, helping you get back on your feet, helping you reunite with your family, helping you obtain your right to work documents to get your first job, helping you create a resume, helping you get into your first apartment, helping you get onto, getting your gas and your electricity, set up for the first time, and then having, as you're creating sustainability for these vulnerable groups of people, being able to have them live in a place where they can also work. And so it's creating a safe place for the most vulnerable people in society.
Yeah.
Right. And I see Father Greg Boyle has done that in Homeboy Industries.
It's
I
been
think
pretty
Santa Ana-
successful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But I think Santa Ana is in a unique position where we've had generations of gang violence. I think we're in a position where there's a demand for us to create that place and to fund it. And I think Santa Ana is in a perfect position to show here's what can happen when you invest in solutions.
Exactly.
You can radically reduce violence.
Yep. That would make a big difference here.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Because we don't have a place right now where we can tell someone, hey, you can go get your tattoos removed, get an ID, and get your, get help filling out Medi-Cal and, EBT benefits.
Pretty much
In
an
the
all-in-one.
All in one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we need that because you may find that, but then you need to find who can help you get housing.
Exactly.
And then who can help you with child
there, yeah.
support. And then being with your kids again. And then, having your first apartment. So it's like there are so many barriers that exist that it almost seems not fathomable. People who don't have access to what we know exists out there.
Exactly.
There's a reason why you guys have this beautiful facility. It took you guys having access to people who knew how to do it.
Exactly.
We need places where we can hire those who have been to prison, who know how to turn their life around, that went to college, maybe became an entrepreneur, maybe they became a social worker. We need to hire them to be our gang interventionists.
Yeah,
They should be
exactly.
working in our community centers when you walk in. And so what I want to see, I guess the perfect vision is not keeping community centers and housing and public safety and art in so many different places scattered. Let's also create hubs in communities where all of that is at the same place.
So for someone that's aspiring to make a difference in the community, what's some words or advice that you can give them to keep on going?
Some words of inspiration would be, they can't outwork us in our own neighborhood. I will never be able to outwork you guys in Memorial. That's yours. That's your backyard.
Yeah.
I'm a guest there. I love the city, but I'm a guest there, right? And so it's respecting people's roots and working with them. You can't be the sole, answer for everything. If I'm as good as it gets, we've made no progress because one is not enough. We need multiples of us. The best way you can help others is, uplifting them where they're at. It's not imposing how you can make things better, but it's proposing with your neighbors.
Love it. We just started doing this or that segment. So you're going to be the first one to do it with us, actually. So it's hip hop based because I know you like your rap. All right.
This is the first time I see these questions.
So the first one is old school rap or new school rap?
Old school rap.
Freestyle or written?
Freestyle.
Vinyl or digital?
Vinyl.
There we go. Gold chain or diamond grills?
Gold chain.
True.
Sampling or original beats?
Samples.
That's hard.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go samples because I like oldies.
Yeah, there you go.
Shout out to Ninth Wonder and Jay Dilla, D
Yes,
Mar,
sir.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, great
Yeah.
samplers, man. I'll tell you that.
Alchemist as well.
And the last one I have here, underground or mainstream?
Underground all day.
Yeah, come on, bro.
Underground.
I kind
all
of
day.
figured.
Yeah. You will not see
I think we
me
all
listen-
answered it the same, huh?
I don't want to say any radio stations because I got love for the radio stations. But there are certain hip hop, stations where it's moved too far away from the culture, and we need to remind people that hip hop should always belong to the people. That's what is so impactful about what Kendrick Lamar's done. Is look, we want to see unity between black people, people of color. Period. They're not having a disagreement over humanity. They're having a beef as artists and musicians is completely healthy and natural.
Yeah.
It's an art form. But what Kendrick is doing is he's going back to the roots of hip hop, where when you look at the origins of the diss track, right? Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One, The Bridge is Over, The Bridge is Over,
Yeah.
Biddy Bye Bye, right?
That's dope. Yeah.
I mean, he's literally telling everyone, who are the originators of hip hop and that.
Who did it?
The Bridge is Over,
Iconic,
The Bridge is
bro.
Over.
Yeah.
But that was one of the first diss tracks ever made. That's the king of the diss track. No violence there. But he set the record straight. No one ever disrespected, the foundations or origins of hip hop. But that's what I see happening is Kendrick is educating people.
Exactly.
All education is additional freedoms. The more education you get, the more free we become.
Yeah.
He's educating Drake.
Yeah.
We should applaud the fact that he's giving him that lesson.
Before the beef, were you a Drake fan though?
Oh, ho.
Yeah.
He hit the note.
Yeah, Marvin's Room is a banger.
Yeah, there you go.
Marvin's
Okay,
Room, bro.
Yeah.
Tuesday, going up on a Tuesday.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot
They're
of great
good
Drake
songs. Yeah.
but he don't represent hip hop culture.
No.
Yeah.
He is, in my opinion, a great entertainer. I remember him as Jimmy and Degrassi.
There you go.
I grew up in an era where he was on TV. I always known Drake as an actor.
Yeah.
Baby, you my everything.
Yeah, there you go.
I remember his
Best I
first
ever
album,
had.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I remember that and being like, oh, that was cool. But it was cute, right? Because
Yeah.
at the same time that was coming out, you had J. Cole, working.
J. Cole. Yeah.
Right?
That's
And
another
like
one, yeah.
all these different trajectories
Yeah.
of careers, but we knew we knew J. Cole was working for mainstream when he did that track.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
But we knew when Drake came with Best I Ever Had, it was like, oh, this is what his career is going to look like. Because you could listen to J. Cole and, and hear, let's say, I see the clouds from my window.
There
I
we
know
go.
the sun gonna shine this way. Right? You look
Damn,
at
you
the
can sing
old
too.
Drake,
Yeah.
like, old J. Cole, you're like, oh, this is J. Cole.
Yeah.
And then you hear, like, when he was on the radio, you're like, work it. He had that song,
yeah.
Work
Yeah.
Out. And you're like, yeah, that ain't J. Cole.
Yeah.
But hearing Drake break the industry with his first single, I was like, that's who he's going to be. So with Kendrick, you had Section 8 and all these other, like, amazing classics. Then you had the West Coast, God bless him, right? With his first album, Dre producing it, doing the blessing of that. Like, who's going to be bigger than that?
Exactly, man.
Exactly.
To Pimp a Butterfly,
Yep.
right? It's all West Coast. You had James Brown samples in it, stuff he grew up on.
Yeah.
Then you got, this what God feel like,
Yeah.
laughing to the bank, like,
Yes. Yeah.
damn,
Yes,
was
sir.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my favorite project
Yeah,
of his.
exactly. All of them.
Right? I mean, and then of course, Mr. Mural and the Big Steppers, like,
Oh, yeah.
classics. Yeah, but Kendrick is just on another level. I think when you talk about, the hip hop industry right now, there's not a topic he's not touching, and there's not a group of people he hasn't positively impacted.
You see, for Drake, I can't be caught draking and driving. My windows are up, man. My windows are up. Draking and driving. Draking and driving, dude. My windows are up. Ain't nobody else listening to it but me.
It's true. You might even drive with some AirPods in, right?
I should.
Double it down.
Yeah, still roll up the window.
I feel you, bro. Listen, the only way I'm listening to Drake is if I'm in Toronto at this point.
You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah. Get some home cooking. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but shout out and to the hip hop culture and to those two artists who are on very different spectrums, but
Yes,
they're
sir.
both creating art,
Yes,
and
sir.
they both should be respected. They're both artists. They're both people of color, and they're both people that are representing their community one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
We might not be from Canada. We're
Exactly.
here on the West Coast, but it's love for
Yeah.
our brothers and sisters over there too.
And I think I have one last question. I don't know if you have
Go ahead.
anything
Go
else.
ahead. Let me see.
If you weren't a government official or doing or a council member, what would you be doing?
If I wouldn't have went the route of pursuing continuing my education, being a devout father and a public servant, I probably would have went with the same intensity that I have. I probably would have applied that to fighting, mixed martial arts.
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
what I would have wanted to do.
Yeah.
Was go all in the combat sport.
Have the
we go.
cauliflower ear. And
Yeah. I got some scars on my face.
Yeah.
But I probably would have went all in on that route.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know. A large part of my career, I was organizing fighters. I was one of the founding members of the Mixed Martial Arts Fighters Association. Mixed Martial Arts Fighters Association, we advocated and lobbied members of Congress to introduce a bill amending it from the sport of boxing to MMA, the Muhammad Ali Act.
Yeah.
And so in that case, I probably would have went all in professional, mixed martial arts. And
There
then
we
I
go.
probably would have union organizing, something like that.
There we go. You would have whooped Ryan Garcia.
No, you know what? I would have stayed in mixed martial arts.
Oh, mixed martial arts. Okay, okay.
I gotta say though, I had a boxing club when I was a very young man. And I had the honor of meeting Ryan Garcia's
Oh,
family.
no way.
Yeah. And
Hell yeah.
they're an amazing Chicano family.
Love it.
Ryan Garcia, I know recently has went through some tough times. I just want to share that it's pretty common for fighters to go throughout fight camps. Maybe you try a supplement.
Yeah.
And sometimes these supplements are tainted. And so, although he did lose the drug test and they took his win away, we all saw
what happened.
what he did.
I see it, man.
I don't think that a drug test is going to make a difference in his skills.
No.
Clearly, he's a fighter that's getting better. He's a young man. I wish him and his family nothing but the best. And may he continue to learn and grow and be the champion that we know he can be.
And I guess my final question is, I guess it's a legacy question. So I know you're young, and by the way, I feel like this isn't gonna be the first time or the last time we're gonna have a podcast with you, man. I feel like there's a lot to cover. But like, in your career, you always visualize what you want to be ultimately, or the outcome of what your life is. What is the legacy you want to leave for Santa Ana, being a young man from Santa Ana?
Yeah, I mean, I was 27 when I started my career here.
Yeah.
I'm 31 now.
Yeah.
And so for me, what would be most important is I want to impact, 12 years of good community service in my city. 4 years in, 12 years is the amount of years that kids are going to spend in our schools in Santana. And so what I would like to see is, our schools and our city have joint use agreements where our campuses are open to our residents who, moms, dads. So I would envision our schools being used where, you can walk into a classroom, that you may not go to and learn an instrument after school hours, right? You may be able to go to the Santa Ana High School and join a wrestling program, at an age where you're not even in high school. Where, I envision kids being able to play in neighborhoods where there aren't parks at their school, using their basketball courts, their rooftops, their soccer fields, because that is going to create public safety. Part of why it seems like pie in the sky is because Santa Ana doesn't manage our schools. Santa Ana Unified does. A very different form of government. And as a council member, I am focusing my efforts on building a healthy relationship based off respect and mutuality for serving our neighbors with the school district. And so I'm a member of the Joint Use Committee, and it's a long process to get there. But that is a long haul picture that I think is going to alleviate a lot of issues in the community. Imagine for those families that can't afford to feed their loved ones, being able to walk to the cafeteria in the school that your kid goes to and being able to have, a breakfast, with your kid before they go into class. Imagine being able to, have your child, as they're in summer break, go to the same school that they go to and learn, photography or, mural painting. Or, pottery classes in their classroom. And the city pays for that. That's a joint use agreement, right? Like that right there can alleviate a lot of issues. The sad reality as to why I'm fighting for that is because we live in a city where kids get arrested for jumping a fence to play in a playground in Willard because they don't have a park. So I as a council member, had to fight to create a park in Willard, but parks take years to build. Right. We probably won't have that park open until maybe 2026, latest, I would say. But think of the generations of kids that were arrested because they just wanted to run on a track, and then now their life has changed forever. So it is a costly, vision, because that means we're going to have to maintain these schools. We're going to have to keep them clean, and then kids have to be in class the next day. But we can create a future where we invest in children and families, and it's normal and it's not politicized. Because if we don't start funding, youth services and education collaboratively, meaning the school and the city works together on it, then who are we fighting for? Exactly. If these are your kids when they're in the classroom and then they're mine when they're home, when are we mixing the conversation of how are we serving them with a continuity of care that is 24/7? And for me, it looks like having joint use agreements with the school district. And something else that, is to complete that picture is having Santa Ana College be free for all Santa Ana Unified students.
Oh, there we go.
It's in our city.
That'd be dope.
It's paid for by taxpayer dollars, that college. If I went to school in Santa Ana, I should be able to go to that college at no cost. Because Santa Ana needs to invest in creating college graduates. Because the same way we spend money to have a cop on every corner, we're investing in creating gang violence, right? Like some of these police officers, 90% of our officers don't want to live in Santa Ana. Yeah, imagine how much safer we'd be if you lived here. The quality of care you treat someone with. The difference is, the reason why you're seeing such significant investment from my office in my district So I'm going to run into my neighbors. I respect them. I care for them. My daughter's playing with my neighbor's kids, and the wellness of their children is just as important as mine.
Right.
So although I may not see the tagging on your wall, I need to know about it, because your kid may see that and think that that's normal. You know, how do we change that? It's got to start with us. And I would say that is going to be a solution that can change, you know, communities impacted by poverty, because, you know, breaking and entering, substance abuse, you know, homelessness, and, you know, gang violence, this isn't happening by people that are wealthy. These are people experiencing poverty that are doing and experiencing these hardships. So if we want that to stop, we got to address poverty. We got to address that there's a kid going to bed tonight with no food, and there's a kid today who's going to sleep in a motel to be at school tomorrow on time. And there's a kid who showed up to school with no food in his stomach. And that kid is struggling to concentrate because, do I see my mom and my dad have a good night and we're sitting all together at a table starving? Or do I start an argument about, you know, I'd like to get some food on the way home today?
Exactly.
Because my mama might not feel like she's enough because she's got $2 to her name. I remember my mom having to count pennies to buy, you know, McDonald's cheeseburgers. I remember, and, you know, love and respect to my mom.
Yeah.
My uncle Salvador Prieto, he used to let her borrow money when we needed to eat. And, you know, my dad, you know, he was in the struggle, but that's how I ate. I never forgot that. Never forgot it. So as a parent and as a council member, I lean entirely into families and children. And that is the best route to protect your city, is protect families and kids. All the other issues can be addressed by directly helping families. Center families, my man.
Thank you, Johnathan. I appreciate you, man, for coming on and blessing us on the pod,
dude.
spitting knowledge, you know, and I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you to both of you. Man, you guys are bros from the city. Like, you guys could be anywhere else and you're doing it. You guys grew up in one of the toughest neighborhoods to grow up in Up In Santana, and look at you. And
Appreciate it, man.
It's not often that brown people give each other flowers, so I want to give you yours. And bro, the talent that you guys have, I'm being for real.
Thank you.
Like, I've been talking to you for years.
Yeah, literally.
Because I bought Keeping It Real shirts from you at
You did.
Copper
Door. Yeah, Copper Door. That's what it was.
And part of why I bought from you guys was I talked to your bro, and I'm like, how long have y'all been in Santana? And he was like, since. And so I'm like, that's what Keeping It Real means to me. It starts with since.
Yep.
Exactly. And so, you know, when I am here with you guys, I actually had approached your platform years ago. And I was so impressed with it, because that is a conversation I have every day with my neighbors. You know, since when have y'all been here? Or since when have you cared? Or since when have you started seeing this was an issue? Like, Keeping It Real since is a platform that is created by Santaneros. And it's why it speaks so deeply to us. So I just want to say thank you.
No, thank you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, I know back in the day when you hit us up, you know, we wanted to work together, but we weren't ready yet. Now we're ready. Now we're ready, bro. Yeah, we had to build it.
And we're still building, man. I guess we all are, huh?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna just put this out here for everyone to know. You know, I've been keeping it real since '92 in Santana. I had it in my heart. I told you I was like 4 years ago. I'm like, when I approached talking to Keeping It Real, that's how I approached it. I was like, I've been keeping it real since 1992, because that's when I was born into the city. And so, just want to share my gratitude with you guys, and thank you guys not only as Santaneros but as a brand for uplifting your whole city and the culture. I mean, I'm in a room right now where you got, you know, Nipsey Hussle, Selena. You got a crazy picture of Back to the Future with the clock tower, the downtown Santa Ana water tower, Cheech and Chong with Keeping It Real since on the Yost Theater. You know, it's beautiful, brother. I feel at home right here, and I'm very proud that you guys are doing this. And just know your city has your back to the fullest.
Thank you.
Whatever we can do to help, we're here to make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.